He left them there every night. Same spot, right by the door. The same pair of worn-out sneakers. Mud still clinging to the soles from his walk home. Hamza used to just kick them off, one flying this way, the other that he never bothered lining them up. But every single morning, without fail, they'd be sitting there, perfectly straight. He never really noticed. Or maybe, he just never thought about it. Until one night, he came home late, much later than usual. He turned the key, pushing the door open into silence. It was a heavy, unfamiliar silence. There was no warm light spilling from the kitchen. No familiar, comforting smell of his mother's chai brewing on the stove. There was just the shoes, but they were different. They were perfectly aligned, side by side. The mud was gone, wiped clean. Even the laces were neatly tucked in. It was strange, unsettling. Just then, his phone shattered the quiet. A number he didn't recognize. The hospital. The words came through the line, cold and sharp. Stroke. Sudden. It happened fast. Days bled into a week that felt like a lifetime. When Hamza finally returned home, it was to an empty house. He walked in, his heart a hollow drum in his chest. And there they were. The shoe was still in the exact same spot he'd last seen them. But this time, no one had moved them. A thin layer of dust had started to gather. The mud he'd tracked in that day had dried and flaked onto the floor. Hamza's legs gave out. He sank to the floor, right there in the entryway, and just stared at them. And then he cried. He wasn't crying for the shoes. Not really. He was crying for the quiet, unnoticed acts of love they represented. He was crying because he finally understood. Someone had loved him enough to clean up his small messes, day after day, without ever asking for a thank you. Someone had cared enough to straighten his world, even in the smallest ways. Now, he lines up his shoes himself. Every single night, slowly, carefully, he cleans the mud off and tucks the laces in. Because he learned the hardest way that love isn't always in grand gestures or loud declarations. Sometimes, it's in the things we see every day but never truly notice. It's in the quiet, steady hands that fix the little things, until one day, those hands are gone. And all we're left with is the deafening silence and the memory of a love we never said thank you for. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more.